Hey kids, it's time for another episode of Comically Speaking with SPAZ. This episode I'm going to talk about two things. First thing is going to be real fast. Second is actually an off-site visit to Texas where I am going to show you, or actually myself and my friend Alan are going to show you some amazing comic books. But first off, what I wanted to talk about is everyone's getting really upset that Mad Magazine is ceasing publication, even though a lot of us haven't bought Mad Magazine for 30, 40 years. But still, we like the fact that it exists. And, you know, you can go into any comic shop, any bookstore, and find books that are related to Mad Magazine or, you know, old issues of the magazine as well. But there's something that I wanted to bring to your attention. It's not exactly Mad Magazine, but it's called Behaving Madly. And what this is a book that features a lot of the magazines and comics that were inspired by Mad Magazine. You know, I mean, the things that, you know, from my generation, you know, it's Crazy Magazine, Cracked Magazine. But this here delves much deeper than that, goes earlier than those magazines. It's really filled with a lot of great art. And you'll see that Mad Magazine really inspired a lot of other comics and magazines to do that zany, off-brand, offbeat humor, which is really nice. And this is called Behaving Madly. It's available through Yoe Books. There's the back of it there. And I would highly recommend you check this out. Not check it out, but buy it. You can you know, go to the yoebooks.com site, or you can go to Amazon as well. But that's the first part of this video. Second part is going to be fascinating. You are going to see some of the rarest comic books that you've ever seen in your life. And I was up close to them. I mean, it was fascinating. So I would like to introduce you to my friend Alan Petsche, and he's the video begins with me just in wonder going through some of his rows of graded comics, and just I constantly repeat myself and say, wow, this stuff is rare and stuff like that. But then Alan gives us a look inside his personal vault. And it is just absolutely fascinating. I hope you enjoy this. Sit back and watch. This is a special episode of Comically Speaking with SPAZ. This is the single greatest comic book collection ever. So many rare and wonderful items here. All the first issues from the golden age of comics, 1939 to 55. And these even got the odd thing like that, of course, and I'm endlessly fascinated by anything Christmas. You can go through here. Some of the rarest items ever. Look at that Archie number 4. And this, Superman number 2. That's worth at least $8 now. Right, Alan?
Yeah. In this condition, probably more than $8. And 3, 4, 5, 6. Where's my 7 and 8? Huh. 9, 10, 13.
Don't look at me. I didn't.
Oh, there's an extra issue. Number 3 here.
Oh. There's extra issue number 3 framed. Look at how beautiful that is. And then we were just talking about Mad Magazine, and Mad Magazine used to be a comic book, and here is the comic book before the code made him change it to a magazine. Oh, sorry, Alan.
No problem. Yeah.
Look at that.
Issue number 24 was the first magazine. And there's the last comic. Oh, no, that's 22. 23. There we go. That's the last comic book issue right there.
Absolutely fascinating.
And the number 24, there you go. That's the first edition of the new magazine.
See, all of these are some of the rarest comic books you're ever going to find anywhere.
That has to have a ribeye the night before he pitches.
And in wonderful shape.
That's my first one. That's the first one.
That's the first one. So all of these, in these cases, are all the number ones
baseball.
from
but
the
not
Golden
superstitious.
Age.
Every day.
All of these are some of the rarest comic books that you are ever going to find. Every one of them is a number one from the Golden Age of comics. Let's just randomly go through here. Romantic Hearts and
Kelly loves them.
oh, this is amazing.
My mom was
Dale Evans,
my dad passed away in May.
Queen of the West.
He lived a long, great life, 94 years old.
The Raccoon Kids.
So we're trying to get my mom out of the house. So the Astros were coming up.
Slam Bang Comics. Samson.
Hey,
This is my friend Alan Petsche.
Hi guys.
He is going to show you something in his vault, which I have not yet seen.
Oh, what's this? What's this? Oh my goodness. That's a nice thing to have one of.
Wow.
Is that the first?
Oh, this one's even better to have one.
Wow. Even though that's a 1.8, this is
Yeah.
an original.
Yeah.
This is the greatest. This is what started it all right there.
Yep.
Action Comics #1, the introduction of Superman.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Oh, here we go. Many people might not know it, but
Wow.
originally from 1941, Captain America.
Fantastic.
Let's see here. Oh, Batman one. That's nice. I've heard of him
Wow.
before.
Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah. And, New Comics #1, which is eventually became Adventure Comics.
Wow.
So with issue number 32. So Adventure Comics #32 is actually the first issue of Adventure Comics.
Right, but it's actually really 30.
New Comics number
Yeah.
32. Yeah. Oh, Action #2, which I just think
I've never seen that.
it's hard to find. It took me a long time to finally get one, and the reason Superman's not on the cover is when Action #1, before it came out, they weren't sure it was going to be a popular character. So they had some other, and being Action Comics, they had detective stories and things like that. Wow. Oh my goodness! Now here's something.
Is that the very first Marvel Comics?
Yes, it is. It's the very first Marvel Comics in the Human Torch, Angel, Submariner, and Masquerader. But that's they eventually would feature Submariner and Human Torch battle stories in these
Right, and
books.
it wasn't really the same Human Torch that
No.
eventually joined the Fantastic.
No, he was kind of
just
an
retconned.
evil, crazy,
Yeah.
wild figure there.
Yeah, they just sort of retconned the idea and changed it into what, Johnny Storm or whatever his name is.
Now, yeah, when the Fantastic Four
Yeah.
came out in the early '60s. Now, I will say that it was held by Stan Lee and Stephen Schnee.
Oh, that's right.
Lee and Schnee.
Yeah.
Famous
So,
comedy duo.
they both have manhandled this comic book.
Wow. But see, more importantly, Alan Petsche.
Oh, well. Toss that off to the side.
Oh my God.
That is Captain Marvel #1. He originally appeared in Wiz Comics first edition, or second. Wiz Comics #2 was his first appearance of Captain Marvel, and this was his own book. That's and here's Wiz Comics #2. That's the first edition.
That's the first appearance of Captain Marvel, who
Marvel.
later became Shazam.
Yes, and different from the Marvel Captain Marvel.
Yes. Completely different.
Yeah. So
In fact, wasn't there a legal problem between DC and these publishers because they felt it was too close to Superman?
absolutely. In the 1940s, Captain Marvel outsold Superman easily.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They were selling Wiz Comics 500,000 copies a month of this comic. So, but DC had an ongoing lawsuit against him because he's so similar to Superman.
Yeah.
So by 1954, I believe somewhere around there, DC won the lawsuit, and they from there on out they owned Captain Marvel and all the
Right.
Mary Marvel, all the Marvel families.
Yeah, the Marvel
So they basically sued Wiz and Captain Marvel and Fawcett Comics out of existence. So, but you see that is number 2. Okay, that's and they say it's the first edition, but the number inside on the publishing, it's number 2, and there was always where is Wiz Comics number 1, and back or still when you want to copyright a new comic, you have to make up what's called an ash can.
Yes.
Or what they call it, and it could be a real cover or a book, or they just slap something together and they put anything.
It's
on
basically to copyright what's inside.
Exactly what it is, and there's I have 3 different what is considered the first issue of Wiz, because originally they tried to copyright Flash comics, but of course DC already had a copyright for Flash, their character, so that was out. Another Superman number 1. What do you know?
Wow.
That's nice. They keep them together. And here's the Mad number 1.
Okay, there, right there. That's number 1. Is
Yeah,
that right?
that's the first one.
That is the very first Mad right there.
And actually, they consider it the first satire comic, also.
Wow.
And so, Silver Street, Green Lantern number 1. That's a nice book. Wow. But well, darn it. Anyway, I don't. Wiz Comics, Fawcett also tried to copyright Thunder. He was Captain Marvel was originally going to be Captain Thunder, and so they tried to copyright that title also. And I have somewhere I have a Captain Thunder,
an ash can.
Yeah, and but they couldn't do that either because there's Captain or Mr. Thunderman or something.
Right.
And so they couldn't get that one. So they finally settled on just calling the character Captain Marvel and put him in Wiz Comics. So.
Yes.
But they even had trouble with that because there was, for about 30 years previous or before that, there was a Captain Billy's Whiz Bank, which was a parody, book basically, or a monthly little item there. So, but all comics have ash can versions. So just so you have the copyright, and then they put out the first edition.
Yeah.
So the ash cans are like a number 0 or something.
Yeah.
So what we have here.
This is the actual ash can for Action Comics number 1.
Yep.
The most valuable comic in the entire world.
Yeah.
Possibly in the universe.
Possibly.
Maybe in the multiverse.
Maybe in the Marvel universe. But anyway, that was the ash can that was used. There's 2 others of these. There's only 2 more. There's one in DC's vaults, and a friend of mine up in Chicago has one. But,
so this is actually worth more than...
In my mind, yes. But,
well, in my mind, but I guess on the market, no.
Not yet. But the people who sell these books know that I would not entertain an offer less than what the most expensive comic has ever gone for.
$75, $80?
I wouldn't take it less than 100.
Well, that's it for this episode of Comically Speaking with Spaz. I hope you enjoyed my visit to Texas. But until the next time we meet, Fing Fang Foom!